Okay, guys, we're going to do a show here in just a moment. Got a lot of really good stuff on this Wednesday. So if you would share with others, and we're going to get this started in just 1 second. And let's do it. Welcome to Rob Carson's What in the World? It's casual Wednesday. I recorded my show for Newsmax TV today, and it's going to be a really good one, by the way. I think you're going to thoroughly enjoy it. We are trying it on a new channel tonight. I'm going to go ahead and check here and see if it is available. No, it is not. That's okay. Hello there, Kay. Hello. And also Dave, who's joined me already tonight. I am attempting to broadcast on a new stream, which is magabook.com. Not appear wanting to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and ixnay on the odd brass K or whatever the hell. Anyway, so let's get started. Let's get started with the show. I want to get into some coronavirus stuff. I want to get into the latest incidents of police brutality. And some of them have been, some of these, like Trayvon Martin, was a lie. George Zimmerman was not a racist, and he wasn't a cop. Okay? Mike Brown in Ferguson was the thug who went after a police officer. The police officer's life was ruined when he defended himself. There's a case in Minneapolis where the police were wrong. It looks that way. I'm going to share the video. Do you like my hair? Isn't that cool? Doesn't this look good? It just looks like I got a little gray. I hate the gray, but what am I going to do, right? I'm not 20 years old anymore. I want to start off with a personal note tonight because Rush Limbaugh is a national media figure. You know him. You may call him divisive, and you may not like him, and I don't care. One thing about Rush Limbaugh has been that he is one of the most significant political figures in the history of the United States. He began a show in 1988. He was discovered in Sacramento, California, and he moved to New York City. And he began a show there that shaped the future of talk radio forever. He also he educated millions of people on the virtues of constitutional conservatism. He also changed the course of history with regard to the country. I didn't understand conservatism when I was in college. I had no idea. And I graduated from college, and I got out in 1989, and I heard about this guy named Rush Limbaugh, and I started listening to him a little bit, and then I heard of another friend of mine was writing for him, and I said, hey, can I write for him? And I started writing political satire for Rush Limbaugh. And I wrote hundreds and hundreds of bits for Rush over the years, but I never claimed... I didn't care about being noticed for it. I was put in his first book. He put me in his first book that was very nice. It was a thrill. I remember I was 24 years old. I was on a plane to Mexico, and I saw these guys reading this book, The Way Things Ought to Be, and I thought, okay, hey, I know that guy. Really? Are you Rob Carson? I went, oh, my God, really? And I met him. I've spoken to him. I don't know him as a friend, but he has always been very kind to me. He knows who I am. I worked with Johnny Donovan at the EIB network for years until 2013 when Kit Carson passed. Kit Carson was a gentleman who was nice enough to listen to my ideas and run my comedy. And he was the gatekeeper. He was the gatekeeper for the show, and he'd say, "Hey, you can run this bit or not. What do you think?" And Kit would go, "No, no." Or, "Yeah, oh, God dang, send it, man. Come on." And so I am close to the program, closer than a lot of people would be. And he's sick. Talk radio would not exist without Rush Limbaugh right now. There were a few who were doing talk radio, but nothing like Rush Limbaugh. Radio went from radio theater to music radio to FM radio. Most of that was music. There were some groundbreakers with regard to talk radio, but Rush Limbaugh came around in 1988 and made talk radio cool. And he blew it up. There's no, I can't even tell you what he did for the media. He saved AM radio. AM radio was dead, and he saved it. And he became the biggest talk radio personality in the history of mankind. About 15 years ago, he went completely deaf. I'll never forget that. He was talking on the air one day, and I couldn't, everybody was like, what's wrong with his voice? And a friend of mine said, Rob, has he been replaced by someone? And I said, I don't know. And I found out he went deaf. He got cochlear implants. He conquered deafness to dominate an oral media. He has dined. He has shared company with the greatest political leaders of our time, including Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher. And I would venture to say his impact on the United States was as powerful. Somebody asked me the other day, who will replace Rush Limbaugh? And I said, no one will ever replace Rush Limbaugh. It's not possible. And I'm normally very pragmatic with regard to questions like that. And I honestly believe that no one will ever be able to do what he did. He came along at the right time. He was the right person with the right skill and knowledge. And it was a perfect storm. And there were people who discovered him. And so no one will ever replace him. It's just not going to happen. I consider Howard Stern to be a shadow compared to Rush Limbaugh because I think Howard Stern is a pornographer. I think the reason why he's famous is because he was willing to say things that had never been said on terrestrial radio. And I think he's a pig. I always have. I think he's a coarse, vile pig. Just never have liked him. I like some of the interviews he's done. I've heard some things that he's done that are pretty brilliant, but I don't appreciate him sitting in a room with people having sex in front of him while he, gets off on it. I think it's gross. I think he's grotesque. And he's been cruel to a lot of people that I know. So, there's an incivility about Howard Stern that I've never liked. I tried to read his first book, and I made it through about 3 pages when he started talking about wiping his ass. So I was like, no, not for me. And I'm not a prude by any means. It's just I'm not interested. But I started writing for Rush in 1989-ish, and Rush wrote for him till about 2013 or so. The last bit I did was called Skyfall with Adele. It was a parody I did about the government shutdown when Barack Obama was still the president. But that was the last one I did. Rush spoke on his show yesterday, and I noticed his voice. And he sounded weak. And my heart broke. Because I think he's one of the bravest people I could ever imagine. He's a man who was leading a show that was reaching 30 million people a year, and he went deaf, and now he's reaching 40 million a year. He's amazing. The man is amazing. He's built an empire. He's a legend. I can't begin to even put into perspective, and I won't even try because I don't have the knowledge and the ability to put it in perspective, to be honest. But he has weathered storm after storm after storm. He has been demonized. He has been called mean to callers. He's never been mean to a caller. He's terrific on the air. He's an entertainer. He's an informer. He is a thought leader. He's regardless of what you think of him, he is an epic historical figure. And here is part of his monologue yesterday that just broke my heart.
I guess I'm in the third wave of treatment now. There have been many cycles, but this is the third wave. And this current wave, I have to tell you, is kicking my ass. For the last 7 days, I have been virtually worthless, virtually useless. I haven't left the house. I haven't done much of anything except just try to rest and relax. All of this was told to me was going to be a factor. I mean, nothing is happening that was not told to me, nothing I haven't been warned about. And this is what I mean by those of you having gone through this, you know what it is. And it's just it's the cost, it's the price that you pay if you make the decision to go ahead and do treatment.
And that's what hit me when he said, when you go ahead to do treatment, when you say you choose to do treatment. Because you can choose to do treatment or you can say no. And we all know what the no means. And so he chose to treat this. And he went on, and I listened to his show, and I was riveted, as so many times I've heard him through the biggest moments in our history, in my memory, and he has led us through them. And I've been praying for him, and I hope you will too. Pray for him. It's all we can do. Pray for him. God bless him. Let's move on. Okay? Latest Kaiser Family Foundation health tracking poll released Wednesday surveyed 1,189 adults between May 13th and 18th to uncover how the nation's health habits have been impacted by the coronavirus and subsequent stay-at-home orders. These are killing the country. It is ridiculous. It needs to stop now. The survey reveals that a huge number of Americans are deferring doctor's appointments, struggling with stress, grappling with financial insecurity, suggesting that the side effects of stay-at-home orders could be just as harmful, I would say, worse than the virus itself. 48% of those who responded to the Kaiser Family Foundation health tracking poll stated that they or someone in their household had postponed or skipped medical care due to the coronavirus outbreak. 11% of those claimed their conditions have worsened due to the avoidance of treatment. Dear God in heaven, what have you done, you idiot a-hole leaders who paid attention to the Imperial College model and to Fauci and Birx? I said this 2 months ago. And I had my friends in broadcasting who are in a position, because you know what? I have been shut out by radio to some degree, and particularly some higher ups in radio, and so I'm a speck. But I still have my opinion, and some people still hear it, and I still have national hosts who are friends. And I said at the beginning, this is bull crap. This is bull crap. This is a lie. This is not what it is what it's said to be. It does not make any sense in 2020. We have been watching too many zombie movies and too many apocalyptic viral movies, and it's bullcrap. But we have surrendered our freedoms. We have closed our churches. I have lost friends. I have one friend who doesn't even speak to me anymore. You know why he doesn't speak to me anymore? Because he said, don't you think Donald Trump should shut down the entire country, everything? And I said, no, because he doesn't have the ability, and two, it's unconstitutional. Someone was willing to let the President of the United States shut down the entire country. And I said, that is absurd on the face of it. How dare you even think that? Are you out of your goddamn mind? Because once you give up that kind of freedom to the government, it's gone forever. And that's how I lost my friend. And I have, now, Kay, you're wrong, actually. I do a lot of research. I know you're in healthcare, Kay, but you're wrong. We should have initially protected those who are vulnerable. I was looking at statistics from the state of Kansas today alone. In the state of Kansas, let me pull them up. We should have protected the vulnerable, and we should have not told everyone to go home. And I stick by that. And if you disagree, then I'm just going to say you're wrong. And normally, I pay very close attention to this stuff. I have seen this, and we're going to be proven to be right. Those of us who said it is nonsense, we should have just taken care of the people who were vulnerable. In the state of Kansas, 73 of the, most of the deaths have occurred with people who are over the age of 85. Okay? Now, infections have happened in, for instance, 25 to 34. Let me just look through some of the cases here. 1,737 people 25 to 34 have had the virus in Kansas. 1,727 between 35 and 44. 1,682 between 45 and 54. 1,311 55 to 64. And then that begins to decline. So in the middle between the ages of 25 and 54, those were the most infections have happened. Now, let's talk about deaths in the state of Kansas. 73 deaths have occurred 85 plus, 39 between 75 and 84, 36 between 65 and 74, 28 between 55 and 64, and then the numbers trickle off. Between 25 and 34, under 34 years of age in the state of Kansas, under 34, no deaths. No deaths. So why can't they go to work? For those of you panic mongers who say again and again, Rob, you're wrong, panic, run and scream, stay at home, you're high. You're wrong. You've been wrong from the beginning. You have been wrong from the beginning. And I have said, and I have stood here, and I have suffered the slings and arrow, and I've been removed from Facebook, and I've been shut down because I dared to say the truth about this virus and the bullshit that the mainstream media is giving us and the bullshit that the healthcare establishment is giving us with regard to this pandemic. It's bullshit. It never has been what it is. And right now, we just came out, the CDC said the death rate is 0.24%, which is just over the flu. So bring it. Bring it. And if you're mad at me and you want to try and change my mind, you're not going to do it. I don't get on your pages and try to change your mind. I don't get on your timeline and say things that are awful to you. I don't care. I'm not here to change your mind. If you want to go ahead and think what you think, that's fine. I'm not here to change your mind. If I do, great. But I'm not going to change how I feel and the facts that I present on this show to please somebody or to please the panic mongers. And I've said that this entire debacle that is destroying our country and that is being extended for political reasons by Democrat governors and leaders and national politicians who want to extend this through Election Day. And I saw a headline the other day, we won't have this under control until November 11th. It won't be solved until November the 11th, after the election. And that was the most transparent headline I'd seen. Bullshit. I cry bullshit. We've seen in all of the Democrat states in the country, they have the most deaths by far. 75% of new infections in New York City. Why, guys? Where are they happening? In homes where people are being quarantined. End of discussion. You're always willing to say, hey, you know what? The climate change debate is over. Well, bullshit. You know what? Here's the deal. The coronavirus debate is over. Do I want to get coronavirus? Hell no. But I look in the state of Kansas, there's been no deaths 34 years of age and younger, and I would venture to say that all of the deaths after that, there were comorbidities, including advanced age and other elements. We saw this in Italy months ago. People with diabetes, people with kidney failure and heart disease and all of these other things, they have comorbidities. The reason why they die is because the virus makes them weaker and they die. So I'm not going to listen to your nonsense anymore. I have talked to experts about this. I've spoken to people who are the heads of hospitals. We had a New York governor who was Chicken Little, who said, I need 30,000 respirators. I need more hospital beds. None of those hospital beds were filled. The hospital ship was sent. The extra facility that was set up was shut down. And 5,000 of the respirators were used. And by the way, 85% of the people who had respirators were used on them ended up dying because respirators are a terrible way to treat this disease. The left has been wrong about everything on this. It's been wrong from the get-go. from the initial prediction from Imperial University that said 2 million people in the U.S. would die, 500,000 people in Great Britain would die. You've been wrong, and I'm not going to beat this drum anymore. And I'm not going to sit here and get pissy little comments on my timeline every second when you're wrong. I've had people say, I hope that you get it. All I've done is present facts here. All I've done is say this is absurd. We are destroying a generation. We don't even know what we've lost. The kids who missed their graduation, I was talking about my son goes to KU. The kid's a senior year. This could have been the year that they went to the NCAA championship. This could have been it. This could have been the hallmark of their life, and it was taken away because some moron at Imperial University that was parroted by Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci, who are, and I said from the get-go, I didn't think they were deep staters, but they certainly are lifelong bureaucrats. And they're the ones who shape policy, and they're the ones who shut down the damn country, and it should have never been shut down. We've never done this in history. We've never done it. Yes, in 1918, a lot of people wore masks. Put the goddamn pictures up on the web. Yeah, people wore masks in 1918, but we've never in our history shut the damn country down. Unbelievable. Bull crap. And I have gone to work every single day since this started. And I have gone to work every single day because I was deemed essential. Really, am I more essential than anybody? You can go to Home Depot. You can rub elbows with somebody at Home Depot or Target or a grocery store, but you can't go to somebody's restaurant. Ridiculous. People are suffering. People are shuttering their doors. We've had authorities called on hairdressers, for Christ's sake. People become folk heroes because they just wanted to open their freaking barbershop. Ridiculous. Nonsense. There's going to be a second wave. There's going to be a second wave. Oh yeah, it's coming. Oh, you can't get out. You can't start. There's no new normal. We can't have a new normal. Bullshit. There's going to be a new normal. There's not going to be a new normal. Everybody's saying there's going to be a new normal. You know what I say? And I said this a couple weeks ago, F your new normal. Because you know what? I'm going to an effing ballpark, and I'm going to sit next to somebody, and I'm going to ask him to hand me a hot dog, and I'm going to have him hand him some money, and I'm going to have him send me down a beer, and I'm going to hand him some money, and I'm going to sit in a restaurant, and I'm going to go to the goddamn gym. I want to go to the gym. Haven't been to the gym in 2 damned months. Stupid. There's not a single case of somebody getting coronavirus from going to the damned gym or going to the beach or walking their dog. You morons. Bill de Blasio says it's not his fault. It's not his fault what has happened in the city. It's not his fault that his city is bankrupt. His city is effed. He complained Wednesday that he was waiting for more help from the federal government. You know what? F you, buddy. He said it was a fault of no one who lives in the 5 boroughs that coronavirus wiped out millions of jobs. Well, open the goddamn boroughs, you idiot. He now wants a 4th stimulus bill from Congress to revive the economy, but he won't let people go back to work. Here is the worst mayor in America in possibly history.
The responsibility or fault of anyone in these 5 boroughs. We didn't ask for the coronavirus, and we have spent so much.
Your reaction to it is the problem, you a-hole.
Time, energy, heart, soul, and money fighting back the coronavirus, and often alone without the help of our federal government.
Well, let's see. What about the hospital ship? What about the respirators? You have not been on an island. You have made yourself the center of attention because New York is only concerned about New York. If 9/11 happened in Des Moines, nobody in New York would have given a flying crap about it. Okay? New York has always cared about New York. And you, sir, it falls on your shoulders. This is on you, sir. Because there are other places in other states. The state of Florida, Ron DeSantis has done a terrific job. They've got more people than New York, and they didn't hit what you did. You, sir, are responsible, and you need to be held liable for it.
But New Yorkers have done it.
Why? Because New York is the best place, and New Yorkers are stronger than anyone in America. No, not really.
And when you think...
I mean, listen, I'm not meaning to rip on the people in New York, but I'm sorry. I get sick and tired of this New York East Coast centrist crap that goes on. And New York, we had a crybaby Governor Chicken Little. We've had this a-hole who decides to go on walks 12 miles from a house a month ago, tells people to go downtown, ride the subways, go to public events a month after the president said you needed to shut down travel from China.
About it, what's happened here in this city, what's happened in cities all over the country, what's happened in states all over the country is
nothing to the extent that it's happened in yours.
Burden has been borne by cities and states to somehow make sense of this crisis, to go it alone in so many ways.
South Dakota. The governor of South Dakota said, here's the deal. Let's go ahead and let people live their lives. Her rule was wash your hands. If you feel sick, stay home. Call your doctor. Protect the vulnerable. They beat 75% of the predictions of death and infection.
And to fight back a disease that really is part of an international pandemic, of course it should be the responsibility of the federal government first and foremost.
This is unbelievable, man. I mean, this is unbelievable. He's putting it all on the virus and the federal government.
To address this. And yet, here we are waiting once again for action.
You know why he's doing this? Because he knows that he really effed things up. And people are beginning to realize that he really effed things up.
We're not hearing from the president. We're not hearing from the Senate Majority Leader. In fact, I spoke to Senator Schumer yesterday. There's literally no schedule for the fourth stimulus bill to be voted on.
Let your businesses open, you jack off.
This is the stimulus that would actually help cities and states, that would actually help us back on our feet and help us deal with this crisis. Literally no vote scheduled. But here's the challenge. While they're not acting in the Senate, while the president remains silent, our fiscal situation has gotten worse. I originally reported...
Okay, now, New York was effed fiscally because of this a-hole's policies to begin with.
I to you last month that between the current fiscal year and the one that begins July 1st, we had $7.4 billion in projected lost revenue because, of course, the economy is not functioning the way it is.
Yes, and of course, you could open up businesses. And you know what? I'm done with you. Piss off. Reopen New York, a coalition of hundreds of small businesses, including some that will reopen before the mayor allows it, say they are willing to go to court over the ongoing standoff. If I promote this, I'll get kicked off of Facebook. Did you know that? Did you know that people get booted from YouTube for disagreeing with the WHO that's been wrong about everything? Did you know that? Did you know that I've been kicked off my Facebook page at Rob Carson Show? That happened about 3-4 weeks ago, and I have no recourse. I have no one to get a hold of. There is no ability for me to protest. They will not give me an answer. There's nothing on their page. There's no phone number I can call. Bruce Backman, the coalition's spokesman, says, when did the mayor become a stooge of Wall Street? The New York Times, New York Stock Exchange opened yesterday. Why is Wall Street taking precedence over Main Street? Well, because the politicians line their pockets with Wall Street. The federal government pumps money into Wall Street, and Wall Street gets rich off of it. Why didn't they send a summons down to shut down Wall Street? They're able to operate remotely. We are now in a fiscal crisis. It's not the fault of anyone in the five boroughs, according to the glorious mayor. He's targeting our businesses, our communities, and our families. And I hope across the state of New York they say F you and reopen their businesses en masse, because there's not enough law enforcement to shut it down. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who signed legislation granting hospital and nursing homes executive immunity from lawsuits related to the novel coronavirus last month, previously received a big money boost from a powerful healthcare industry group. An article published on the socialist website Jacobin and republished in The Guardian reports that the New York State Democrat Committee, then backing Cuomo's primary run in 2018, received more than $1 million from the Greater New York Hospital Association, a lobbying group for hospital systems, some of which own nursing homes. And now they're immune. They're immune from lawsuits, even though this jagoff, who is blaming the president for putting coronavirus patients in nursing homes, and more than twice as many people have died on September the 11th in nursing homes because of that policy, Governor Cuomo. But it's okay. Because according to the Democrat Party, those people are expendable. They are a loss that can be handled. It's like the loss of 60 million babies since Roe v. Wade. These are old people. They probably don't vote anymore. They're too old. They can't get out and vote. Somebody could take their mail-in ballot and fill it out in the nursing home and then send it in and vote for a Democrat. So their lives aren't really that important. And by the way, they're collecting Social Security, so they're no longer productive citizens. So what's the point in having them around? Barack Obama said if grandma's got a heart condition, give her a pill. She doesn't need the surgery. We're not going to pay for the surgery. Every day of life is precious. I don't care if you're 100 years old or if you're 20 years old. New Yorkers actually got out this weekend and enjoyed life. Watch this. Despite what the mayor said. Here they are. People are enjoying life, man. They're dancing on the street. They don't even know they're all dead yet. There they are playing music without wearing masks. That guitarist, probably already dead. If he's not dead, he's in a hospital right now. He's on that hospital ship that was going to be overcrowded, but actually, no, it never was. Guy on the saxophone, probably still alive. The only one. Police officers, probably still alive. Those people walking across the street, they're dead. Dead. Oh, she's alive. Those guys are dead because they're standing within 6 feet of each other. Yeah. Dead. This is America, kids. This is what we do. This is what we've had taken away by jagoffs like the mayor. Thank you, UK Daily Mail, for that glorious video. Hold on. Let me see if I've got that video. Oh, yes. There's another symptom of coronavirus that has been happening in the country. Did you know what it is? You know, the people are saying you lose your sense of taste and there's a fever and all that. But also, apparently, you can become a complete a-hole. Just watch.
What was that? We're sheep? Thank you for coughing. Bye.
I'd punch her right in the face.
Baby's over here. Move. Wow.
She's coughing on him.
Wow.
She's spitting on him.
Nice.
Oh,
She spat at a Walmart employee.
spitting.
Now, here's the deal. If a business says that I have to wear a mask, I'll either wear a mask or not go. Okay, I went the other day to Menards, and they said, you're going to buy a mask. And I said, no, you know what, I'm cool. I'll go somewhere else. And then I went to get my haircut at Great Clips, and they said, wear a mask. And I said, by God in heaven, I need a haircut because I haven't had one in 2 months. I said, okay, wear the mask. Don't take it out on the freaking employees.
I got it.
Here we go. This is going to get ugly. Jerry. Here it goes. Here it comes. Boom, there it is. Okay. Yeah. Life in America 2020.
You refuse me service because you're just stupid. You are so
Wow.
stupid.
I just put you on my 3,000 follower Instagram feed, mostly locals.
Hi, everyone. I work for Costco, and I'm asking this member to put on a mask because that is our company policy. So either wear the mask...
And I'm not doing it because I woke up in a free country.
Well, okay, now here's the deal. Okay, you did wake up in a free country. But in Costco, you are not free. That's Costco's property. And if Costco says you have to wear your underwear on the outside of your clothes, then you have to go there if you want to shop. So this is where you're wrong. Outside, you don't have to wear a friggin' mask.
Have a great day.
Okay?
So you're going to take this cart from me.
Sir, have a great
Full
day.
of stuff.
You are no longer
Yeah, they've been demonizing this Costco guy, and I don't demonize him. He's just following company policy. And if you don't want to shop there because they ask you to put a mask on, don't shop at Costco.
here in our warehouse. You need to leave.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very
Here,
much.
you put it on. I'll give you my card. He's going
Here we go again.
Hello.
Again, listen, I'm not going to wear a mask outside. F you. If the government says I have to wear a mask outside, I will call the police and say, hey, I'm at the corner of 5th and Vine. I have no mask on. Come and arrest me.
How you doing?
Pretty good. 10 on purple, please.
But at Costco, if they ask you, you know what I'm saying? If you got to wear a mask, got to wear a mask.
Where'd you get that mask from?
Well, since we have to wear
Kind of
it,
a stupid
it's harder to
mask,
breathe,
Derek.
This makes it a lot easier to breathe.
Cutting it?
I don't blame her, actually, because you can't breathe in the damn masks.
Hi, I have a medical condition that I'm not allowed to wear a mask, and I'm not required by HIPAA rules and regulations to disclose that.
Okay, can we shop for you?
So, okay, there you go. Joe Biden was on CNN yesterday to discuss how he, says it basically, and he said on Charlemagne the God show that if you don't vote for him, you're not black, which is incredibly racist, and he's going to be able to get away with it because he's a Democrat. It was an unbelievable, really honestly, an unbelievable moment, but here he is being tossed softballs yesterday on CNN explaining, what he meant.
I want to ask you about the remark you made last week on the Breakfast Club. You said, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or for Trump, you ain't black. Well, now, you've since said that...
He said it because he can. Because he was able to say a few years ago to a black congregation, they're going to put y'all back in chains.
You shouldn't have been so cavalier.
Because he's a Democrat. He can talk like this in front of black people. And it's okay, y'all. If he was a conservative, he can't, y'all.
But during the same interview, you said the NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run, which isn't true. So my question for you is about what...
So let's see. He lied there, so we're going to move beyond the lie. We just brought that up there. She didn't say... They haven't, man. What about that? But no, that's just part of the questions you can brush aside and go on so he can appear to be contrite and he can get away with this.
Supporters say they're worried about, which is that all of this...
By the way, my buddy Rusty, I've got my thoughts on the unbelievable story coming out of Minneapolis of George Floyd, and the police were incredibly wrong. I'll get to that very shortly.
End up hurting the enthusiasm that you really need to win among black voters.
Well, first of all, it was a mistake, number one. And
he said he was being cavalier, which is the whitest way you could possibly apologize. I was being cavalier. Yes, how dare I say something like that? I was being cavalier. I
was smiling when he asked me the question. I was, I shouldn't have been such a wise guy with him. He was being a wise guy, and I responded kind. I shouldn't have done that. It was a mistake. I have never taken the African American community for granted.
Yeah, you have, and so has the Democrat Party. I mentioned yesterday that the Democrat Party has asked for decades for the African American community to put out on Election Day, and they have dutifully done so to the tune of 98% of the vote. And the very next day, they wake up and there's some money on the dresser, and the Democrat Party is no longer there. Chicago shootings are not happening. There's no 10 times the murder rate of the average in this country in the black community. There's no 60% abortions. None of that exists. None of it exists. Schools aren't crumbling, and children are not allowed to go to charter schools, and Democrats are continuing to say that they should go to crappy public schools and have their lives ruined, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. None of that exists after Election Day, but it's real important before.
Never once. And I've had overwhelming support in my state and overwhelming support from the African American community my whole career.
And God knows Delaware is quite diverse. Ha ha ha.
But I have never taken it for granted. I work like the devil for it, and I have to earn it every single time. Nobody's vote should be taken for granted. That's what it conveyed. I
see. Okay, thank you. You're saying the things that I need to hear because I'm a Democrat sycophant. Thank you.
Response, and I've never done that. And if you notice,
gonna put y'all back in chains.
This all the time we were talking about in the primary. Well, Biden can't win because look what he did. He came in 99th or something in Iowa and New Hampshire. And I said, wait till we get to a representative state. I've had overwhelming support from the African American community. My whole
because you have a D in front of your name. That's right. It's not because of you, sir. It's not because of you. It's because African Americans in this country, by and large, have been kept on the Democrat plantation, on the Democrat thought plantation. And they have been shamed by other African Americans, by the media. Why do you think Diamond and Silk have a career? Okay, Diamond and Silk are two African American women who happen to be conservatives, and they're famous because of it. Now, they are charming and they're interesting to watch. They're fun. They're a comedy duo. I get it. They're also different than most conservatives because they had the audacity as black women to espouse a conservative political view. Yeah. Most of the time, African Americans are afraid. They go to family gatherings and they can't speak. Because if they bring up the fact that they support Donald Trump or they are conservative, then they are demonized. I felt that way around a lot of my friends. They had to keep quiet if I wanted to, break bread with them. And then I became a talk radio host. And at least one of them no longer speaks to me. Oh, and by the way, I was unfriended by all of them on Facebook. I'm almost immediately. Immediately. When I was the cute Rob, happy pictures of the family eating, whatever, lasagna for dinner, it was perfect. But when I started saying, hey, here's what's wrong with the country, blah, 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 then suddenly, what happened to Joe? What happened to Susan? They're gone. They don't, I've been unfriended. Well, son of a gun. Son of a gun. Let's move on to this case in Minneapolis. George Floyd was arrested the other day. He was being charged with forgery, I guess. 4 police officers were on the scene: Derek Chauvin, Thomas Lane, Tu Tao, and Alexander Kung. 2 officers wrestled him out of his car. They put him on the ground, and they held their knee on his throat for 8 minutes while he suffocated. I'm going to show you the video, and I'll fast forward as it should. But this clearly, there was no excuse for it. George Zimmerman was not a police officer, and Trayvon Martin attacked him. He defended himself. Sorry, that's just what happened. Mike Brown was high on whatever, and he attacked a police officer. He ran toward a police officer who's had his life destroyed in Ferguson, Missouri. Okay, this is not the case in this case. Let's go to the Mr. Floyd being removed from the car, even though he wasn't. He did not appear to be resisting arrest. Here comes another officer. Mr. Frey was not carrying a weapon. I should say Mr. Floyd. I was thinking of the mayor of Minneapolis. So there he is, being removed from his SUV. And here he is as things got worse. This video is from the UK Daily Mail, by the way. Reposted.
I'm tired of going people out here. Got him bleed on the ground. He crying.
Please, I can't breathe.
Please, I can't breathe. Now, I understand police officers go through a lot, and there are some perps who might say they can't breathe. So if the police officer attempts to ease up on them, they will get out and they can harm them. I do not believe at all this was the case.
Please, man. Please, man.
I cannot breathe. I can't breathe. Let's move forward.
Look at his nose.
He's starting to lose consciousness here.
I cannot breathe.
I cannot breathe.
I cannot breathe.
Get your knee off his neck.
Tough guy, huh?
Now, that officer right there was fined or had to pay a $25,000 judgment in 2017 for use of excessive force.
His whole nose is
Fought with him? Bro, but why you just sitting there? He ain't doing nothing now. Put him in the car.
How long y'all gotta hold him down?
Why you don't do drugs, kids? It ain't about drugs, bro. Y'all understand?
Y'all don't gotta put y'all in.
Now, this is he's being arrested for supposed forgery. Let's move forward in the tape. This is where it gets bad.
991. Get over here. No, first
Now
of
he
all.
has completely lost consciousness.
Look, well, you can check on him. He's not responsive right now.
Look at this.
He's not
Look at
Get
him.
your neck, get your knee off his neck.
responsive right now. He's not responsive right now. He's not responsive right now.
Now,
bro.
this is disturbing. I'm going to show it. This is him being loaded onto a stretcher, completely out.
I trained with you, bro.
To him, so shut up. Him
You could at
too.
least lifted him up off the ground, bro.
Well, let me find it. Watch this.
You guys are on
Oh
another
my
level.
God, bro.
He's out. He's gone.
They just
He's
dragged
gone.
him like, come
Yeah,
on
and
now.
I have your name tag.
That's not very professional.
It don't matter. So what? Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, fuck. Don't touch him.
Don't touch
I got this all on camera. Watch out.
Don't touch me again.
Don't touch
You touched him. You went to him. So shut up. You went to him. Y'all always trying to start something.
Bro, don't ever touch me, bro.
I ain't said a word, haven't I? Thank.
Like you bogus, bro. You damn near dead, bro.
And he died at the hospital. I am behind the police. I support our police. The police went through a lot. The Black Lives Matter movement was misguided. It was started because of Ferguson, Missouri. Again, that was not a good example of police brutality. There have been other bad examples of supposed police brutality that have been portrayed in the media as the police being murderous. This case, I believe they were. Here is some footage from Minneapolis. I believe this is from this week. This is protesters. It's getting really ugly in Minneapolis. Now, you can have protests, but unfortunately there are a lot of people who use this as an excuse to commit acts of violence and theft. But I don't blame people for being pissed about this. Mayor of Minneapolis said that these officers need to be brought up on charges, particularly the officer that kept his knee on that man's neck for 8 minutes while he suffocated to death. Suffocated to death. George Floyd was 46 years old. Here is some more from the protests in the Twin Cities.
Oh, fuck.
Again, there are those who use these events in history to commit acts of violence. We saw this in the L.A. riots in 1990. People used it as an excuse to commit acts of violence. We saw it in Cincinnati when I lived there in about 2004, and there was another case. This was police officers confronting an African-American man who was high on PCP and marijuana and decided to pass out on the grass in front of a White Castle. The police woke him up. He came up swinging, and they held him down, and he suffocated for a variety of reasons. He had comorbidities. He was diabetic. He was obese. Okay, that was a movement in Cincinnati that was misguided. This, I do not believe, is misguided. I believe the police were very, very wrong in this. But there is a way to behave, and there is a way to act after something like this happens. We all recognize that this is wrong. This is not a giant systemic thing. Yes, racism exists, but this is not 1968 all over again in America, and it never has been. I just hope that, I've noticed a lot of national talkers won't even touch this because it's, here we go again. All right, let's move on. Virgin Galactic attempted to launch a rocket today. Let me see if I've got this queued up here, okay?
Now comes the search for how and why.
Let me back
Upon
this up. Here we
takeoff
go.
around 747 from the Mojave
Back it
Air...
up here. Hold on. Here we go.
It was an encouraging start.
There we go.
A streaking white aircraft against a blue desert sky. Departure point, Mojave. Destination, space.
Now, so Virgin Galactic is going to launch a satellite. This is revolutionary. Elon Musk is also attempting to put astronauts in space. The first U.S. commercial launch of human beings into orbit in our history. It's gigantic.
Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic was sending a dummy satellite strapped beneath the wing of a modified Boeing 747 from the Mojave Air and Spaceport into low Earth orbit. An auspicious time to do so, too, just 2 days before NASA's first manned spaceflight in 9 years, a partnership with Elon Musk's...
Oh, hi, Michelle. How are you?
...private SpaceX program...
And Greg and Lynn and Tim.
...to the space station. An hour later, though, disappointment. The 747, nicknamed Cosmic Girl, successfully released its payload, but the unmanned test rocket, named Launcher 1, became unstable after technicians ignited its first-stage engine. An anomaly, Virgin Orbit called it. The mission was terminated. Cosmic Girl and its flight crew returned safely to their Mojave base. Now comes the search for how and why. Upon takeoff around noon Monday, Cosmic Girl headed west over the Pacific and turned south. About an hour later, 6.5 miles up, green lights across the board, the pilot pulled into a steep upward climb and just south of the Channel Islands, dropped Launcher 1. The rocket's booster was supposed to have ignited, sending Launcher 1 climbing into the sky. The launch was to be a demonstration of a new rocket system designed to send small payloads into space.
It didn't happen. Virgin couldn't get it up, apparently. That's what the deal was. But here's the thing. It was Virgin's first time. Okay? Yeah. And they were a little nervous. And unfortunately, it only lasted a few glorious seconds. Yeah. This is pretty funny. A dad finds out he's going to have triplets. And he forgets that he's got a 1.5-year-old on his lap because he used a lot of profanity. Let's go ahead and watch it from the beginning.
You ready to see?
So here's the deal. Samantha Grill from Waverly, Iowa, couldn't tell her husband about a prenatal scan because coronavirus, he couldn't go with her to get the ultrasound.
Baby A.
Baby A, what?
Kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Okay, Dad, you got your 1.5-year-old right there. Earmuffs, hello. Does anybody remember old school? Earmuffs, hello.
Wait. No.
Baby A. What?
Baby B?
Uh-oh, here we go again. Earmuffs.
No.
Earmuffs.
4?
3.
Oh.
Yeah, earmuffs.
Oh, my
God. Come on. Dad, jeez.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
You've got super sperm. Congratulations.
No. Oh.
That was the longest F he's had in a while. Yeah, Dad. Earmuffs. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Here's all 3 of them.
Someday all the kids will be sitting around the table. Remember when you got the ultrasound results there, Dad, and all the things that you said?
No. No. No.
There's the 2 boys named Chuck and Chit and Mitch.
What the?
Where'd you come up with our names? Chuck and Chit and Mitch. Where'd those names come from? Oh, Chuck, you so silly, Chuck. Chit.
Oh, my God.
Chit's a priest. They call him Holy Chit.
Oh, Ryan, you have 3 babies.
3 chucking babies.
What?
What the Chuck?
3 babies. You're going to be the oldest of 4. What the?
Chuck.
Are you kidding?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? That is just unbelievable. Great story. One more story, then I'm going to go. How's that sound? Okay. Well, thank you guys for joining me, particularly Michelle and Jason in Council Bluffs, Iowa. How are you? 12-year-old Italian boy Alessandro Franzoi was making international headlines after his encounter with a bear over the weekend. It was captured on video. Check this out. He was able to keep cool and walk away. Watch. This is a 12-year-old. Watch this. Can you imagine? You're out, and all of a sudden, behind you, a gigantic effing bear comes out of the woods. And this kid's cool about it, man. Watch this. Back it all the way to the beginning. Watch this. Here he goes. Fortunately, he was dressed like Spider-Man. See what I mean?
Sì, la sto facendo, vieni.
Okay, you're cool. Dad's saying, just be careful.
Non dargli la schiena.
I know you haven't crapped your pants since you were 3, but it's okay if you do now. Just walk slowly. By the way, the dad was saying, "Come, keep coming. Don't turn your back on him. He's just minding his own business. Let's hope that my son doesn't become his business." Can you imagine as a dad?
Non dargli la schiena, lui fa I cavoli
Oh, buddy, get over here right now. I'm just walking. We're walking. There's nothing to see here. Nothing to see. Now jump in the car! Holy crap. Okay, bye-bye, bear. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay, let's never come back here and go hiking again, okay, Dad? All right. So, I'm going to go. Thanks for joining me tonight, guys. I just recorded my my 4th episode of Newsmax TV. My show is called Rob Carson's What in the World? And I'm going to tell you that I think finally that huge things are happening. I had somebody ask me the other day, a very powerful person in broadcasting, where have you been? And I've been asked that a couple of times. I was asked that by Mark Burnett, senior producer in Washington, D.C., about 10 years ago when I auditioned for Oprah's own network. She said, where have you been all my life? And I never got a call back. And it was because I believe of my politics, that I had written for Rush Limbaugh, and that I was a conservative. I do believe that, because you don't say to somebody, hey, where have you been all my life, and then get shut down. And this person asked me, where have you been? And I said, well, the last 20 plus years I've been crapped on by radio. And I made the mistake in expecting people to create breaks for me, agents who were failed. And they know who they are. And thank you, Rusty. Rusty says, great play-by-play as a dad, Rusty, right? I mean, could you imagine? It's like, okay, just be cool. Just keep walking in your Spider-Man pajamas and don't say anything. Thank you. I appreciate that, Rusty. And God bless you and God bless Minneapolis. I hope that not too much destruction will happen because of this and that there will be peace. So, but I rely to a lot of other people to make breaks happen. I've expected people like certain presidents of companies who are no longer in radio, thank God, because they destroyed companies, when they said, hey, you're going to replace Sean Hannity in one of the biggest markets in America. And then a couple months later, I was let go. I've always kind of relied on other people to make my breaks. And a couple of years ago, when I was let go from KCMO Talk Radio because I was making too much money, I said, okay, fine, I'm going to build a studio and I'm going to learn another skill set. And I asked for help from people who I had worked with, like Dan Bongino, who I thank for his help. He's now a national pundit. He's written a couple best-selling books. And he's absolutely amazing. Other people like Dylan Parentis have helped me learn things. And now Christopher Ruddy with Newsmax TV has given me the ultimate break by putting me as a part of his lineup in something that is completely a departure from what Newsmax TV does. And that is a commentary show that's funny, a conservative version of The Daily Show to some degree. So it's running several times on the weekend on Newsmax TV. It is Rob Carson's What in the World, and you can check it out there, and I will be posting all the times here that you can watch it. But I want to thank Mr. Ruddy for this incredible break. Thank you. I have been beaten down by this industry many times, and I have always fought back. I've always said no, bull crap. I know I've got this. I can do it. I keep adding to my skill set as a comedy writer, as a stand-up comedian, I've got 100 cooking videos on the web, as whatever. I've done all of these things to increase the value of my currency, and I've never given up, despite what some people have done to make me feel like I couldn't. And I've always said, all right, I'll just find somebody else, and I will go somewhere else. Well, now it's me. And I said earlier this year that 2020 is different than any other year because for the first time in our lives, 2020 is no longer hindsight. And whatever's back there doesn't matter anymore. All that matters is what is ahead. So, thanks for watching you. God bless you. God bless Rush Limbaugh. Please, please pray for him. Pray for Minneapolis. And have a glorious evening. I'll see you soon. Bye.